Welcome to this short tutorial on associations using the case specification. I'm using OpenSalt, an open source application that publishes and manages and creates competency frameworks using the case format. But this information will be accurate for any other tool that you may be using. As a brief note, case as a specification breaks down any framework into kind of three main elements. There's the document, which is here, and you can see there's different fields in a case framework document. Then there's the items, and then there's the associations. So we can kind of see the associations here. It's important to note when I say that is because the associations shouldn't be considered per se part of the items. The items I like to see as just one big list, and associations are a way to better describe and show where those items fit. Either in a hierarchy within themselves or more likely in between frameworks. So we can do things like versioning using an exact match and replaced by. We can talk about progressions within a framework, but let's dig down into it. So again, associations are seen as descriptors of the items. So if I go into any kind of item here, at least in OpenSalt, I just go to create associations, and let's go ahead and pretend like we're going to make a crosswalk or something between this particular framework and Alabama. So I'm not really caring at all what I'm associating, but let's say that I have an association here. And again, I have related to. These kind of are the main associations that I can make. It automatically does create child of associations whenever you make a parent statement and then have children underneath it. But we have related to, exact match, part of, etc. So related to is kind of the broadest. It's just saying there's some sort of relationship, but it's not very well defined. So I would typically use related to if I want to show that there's something and maybe I want to go back and further clarify that, or I'm just kind of saying, hey, there's a relationship. And again, thinking of the machine readable format, we could use a relationship tree to show that there's relations between these different frameworks, but we can't say that they are 100% correlated. But we can just say that there's some sort of relationship that I should be able to use to click on that, essentially, right, and to find out more information that would tell me about that particular item. Exact match, typically used when, of course, two items are exactly the same. And when we're saying exactly the same, I'm looking for exactly the same text. If we're going between versions or something, I would use replaced by if I had to update the text in any case. But hypothetically, if I've got 5 different versions of a framework spanning 10 years or whatever, right? I should be able to have if it says exact match, it's the exact same text from year to year, or from locale to locale, etc. In the case of like a Common Core standard. Part of is one of the more interesting ones. We typically use this if I'm seeing like a grouping. A lot of times standards organizations will publish their standards and they'll say, hey, this set of skills is part of this standard. And they don't want to use a child relationship because maybe that particular set of skills belongs to multiple topics or domains or something like that. So we could use as part of to show that relationship. Or we could also use part of if I've taken a standard and I've broken it down into new competency statements that are skills, right? And I can say, okay, is part of it. And interesting thing to note, so let's go ahead and just do that real quick here. We'll select multiple skills. So I can select all these here, right? And then I can say 2 things. I can say, so first I'll do it this way. So I'll say that child 1, which is my statement on the left, is part of all of these. So that would actually be a different kind of relationship, right? This is saying that this skill belongs in a little bit of all of these. But what I want to do, actually, I want to say that all of these skills, I actually want to say that they kind of roll up into this one. So first I'll do this. And you're going to see that this statement will now be part of all of these. So now we've done that, and I can go back to my item, and I can see that I have is part of all of these are here. Okay. If I had decided to go and do something with these skills, and I'll use the second child item here, I can say switch, right? I'm still using as part of. But what it's going to do now is it's going to say has part of. which is kind of the inverse relationship, it's still going to be something that is on this document. So we'll still know that this skill has a relationship with those other ones. It's just the way that it's going to be shown up on your screen. And also when I go on to these skills, then I'll be able to see that there's a relationship between the other documents. But the association resides on our source document, not on the other one. Okay. And I could keep going, right? So this is that two-way relationship is important. But again, if I'm going to take this framework now and I'm going to export it and I want to see it as a spreadsheet, what it can do here, it's going to show me just a table of the items, and then it's going to show me a table of the associations. So here's all my items. And here's all my associations. So the ones I just made were this group here. And so that's all the that's all that is part of relationships. There is no in case, there is no has part of, or whatever. It just kind of switches the identifiers here and says, okay, all those relationships are captured on this document, even though it's a different level of relationship. So it just switches back and forth here. So you can see here's like the identifiers, this 304, etc. It was up here, right? So we just switched it. But okay. And if you want to learn more about the associations and how they're being used, this is in the case information model. This is section 7.3.1, and this is a good description. This is actually an information model, and then the best practices guide also has a little bit more of a clarification. But this is probably your best bet about how they're being used and different ways to use them. Just know that any association type, again, is just extra information about that particular item.